Gonski's education review and then studying it after it was delivered 6 long months ago. The Prime Minister yesterday made the announcement. What is the target? What is the dream? What is the ambition of the Labour government going forward? And you've got to go forward a long way to get the results. Josh Frydenberg, Liberal MP, Ed Husic, Labour MP, join us now to talk about that and other things. Morning to you both.
Morning, how are you?
You haven't been here for ages, Ed, because you've been doing this. Here you are with your tiny little Husic. What's his name?
His name's Sam, and he's doing really well.
He's fantastic. How is his father doing?
I'm here with added bags under my eyes, but I'm very happy. It's
very nice.
Been a great experience, and Bridget's just been amazing as a mum.
And it's Sam, is it?
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Sam's educational future.
Absolutely.
Courtesy of Gonski, because by the time Sam is 56 years old, the full Gonski review will have been introduced.
You know, I've been away for a few weeks, and you've still got that sparkle that you bring to these questions. Thank you for that.
I mean, 2025, Ed, none of it, I mean, we may all be dead by 2025.
No, well, when you look at education itself, like most people will take 12, 13 years potentially through, you know, in terms of their initial education.
Yeah.
And that does take longer time frames. But what we want to do is make sure that we put these things in place, because you've got to negotiate with a number of people to make these things happen. So, you know, for me, seeing more educational resources out my way in Western Sydney is a great thing. Getting them sooner would be terrific, but getting them in place properly is more important.
All right, Josh, the announcement yesterday, and I think, you know, I think it sounds great, but there's just no detail there. They've had the report for 6 months. What would you have liked to have seen yesterday?
Look, we would like to see more detail, but we know that the Prime Minister is long on rhetoric and short on detail. The fact is, under the Gonski plan, under the government's own modelling, there are 3,200 schools that are going to be worse off. And it seems that with the Prime Minister's statement yesterday, she's got everybody offside, not just the premiers, who are going to be left to foot the bill whenever that comes, but also the education experts at Melbourne University and other places, also the Catholic education sector, also the independent schools.
Josh, Josh says there are going to be 3,000 something schools that are going to be worse off. I thought you promised people that no school would be worse off.
We've made that commitment. I'd rather lose a tooth than see schools out my way lose any money.
And the other thing is, lose a tooth now because the dental policy will kick in at some stage in the future, as long as you don't lose a tooth too soon.
Thanks, Seaman. I love it. But the thing is, you know, from our perspective, I mean, you can't necessarily say, you know, that it's been there's no detail. Josh, you guys haven't released anything. You haven't supported Gonski, and we want to be able to see more funds go in, particularly for public schools, where, and again, out my way, where I go to schools and I see the effects of not having enough funding in place.
But do you see the criticism that you're getting, that it is a little bit of a wish list rather than a policy? I just want to pick up, Josh, on these 3,000 schools, just very quickly, because we can die of boredom talking about this, we talk about it for too long, but very quickly, how can you say more than 3,000 schools will miss out when the Prime Minister herself is guaranteeing no school will miss out?
Well, they haven't promised indexation, and that's going to be the key, whereas we're saying that funding for schools will go up by 6% under our government when we get the chance.
You haven't promised indexation.
Labor has a hit list. Labor has a hit list, and they do not favour the Catholic and independent schools.
Yeah, well, we don't refer to public education funding as an injustice either.
Well, either do we. But, you know, we've got to lift the standards in these public schools. It's going to be all right for Sam Husic because he's going to have a tiger dad. You know, he's going to be pushing him to study. But the answer is not always just more money, Ed. It's about better standards and about better teachers and teacher training and so forth. And we've put out a number of ideas on that.
Wasn't that specifically addressed by the Prime Minister yesterday when she was announcing this sort of wish, dream, stroke policy, that it isn't just about throwing money at the problem, it's about making sure the checks and balances are in place?
Well, she's saying, well, we're going to follow Gonski, and Gonski's talking about $6.5 billion a year, so I don't think she's doing it without extra money. But the question is, you know, how long is this going to take to implement? Even Ed, you know, admitted there that we're talking about 3 more federal governments, Josh, 3 more terms of government before we implement it.
Your education spokesperson has floated the idea of bigger class sizes, didn't support Gonski, and on the other end of the scale, you guys are talking about increasing or capping university places. So you're either have big class sizes in primary and secondary school and fewer places in university, and then you want to chip us about education policy when that's what's on your plate and that's what you're serving us up.
All right, just very quickly, both of you, very quickly, at the federal election, how big an issue do you think education is going to be, Ed?
I think it'll be a big issue, and it should be an issue because this is an investment in terms of future generations.
Do you imagine, Josh, this will be a defining issue for many people at the polling booths?
Look, I think it's an important issue, but I think cost of living is going to be more important, and you know, we're seeing that play out in the polls, Paul, just this morning. I mean, the Prime Minister says, judge me on her record. She's saying, judge me on my record. Well, people are judging her on the record, and the cost of living has gone up and productivity has gone down under this government.
All right, and Josh, you just mentioned the polls. Quickly to Ed, are you disappointed because it was just starting to track up for Labor? There was a trend that had just formed and now it's tailing off.
Well, when I've been here previously, we've talked about the polls bouncing up and down, and I just think that it's looking from poll to poll is unrealistic.
So you're not worried?
You've got to look at no, you've got to just keep working away.
All right, good to have you back, Ed. Josh, good to have you back. We will catch you again next week.
Thank you,
guys.
See you, Josh.
Thanks, Paul. See you, Ed.
Gorgeous little baby. I've got to say, you know how I'm into babies.
Oh,
Great
you're
name
so
too.
into babies.
So into babies. All right, Natasha Exelby will be
I'm
back.
just worried about his education, that's all.
Natasha X will be back on the desk after the break to give us the latest news and sport.